Kidneys are full of small blood vessels, so they're very sensitive to this, and so the kidneys may fail. That's usually temporary, but it requires significant help to walk them through that.
We've been speaking to a mother of 2 children who have E. coli, and they're being treated here. This mom tells us that her son, at last check, was in surgery. I guess, why would a child need surgery if they're diagnosed with E. coli?
Well, they go to surgery just so that we can place catheters so that we can replace the function of their kidneys temporarily. So catheter is just a tube that goes in a large blood vessel, so we can put them on different forms of dialysis until their kidneys are working on their own again.
Typically, how long are children, how long do they need to be in the intensive care unit at that point?
It really varies. The kidneys may not work for days to weeks. Most of the time they will bounce back, not always, but usually they will. So fortunately there are things we can do to support them through that phase of illness.
When did this outbreak start? When did you start seeing these patients come in?
We started seeing this, you don't want to hear this, because I'm thinking of the days of the week right now because I was on call. 10 days back, okay. It's been about 10 days that we saw that, and we started seeing it in the ICU 4 days ago.
Okay, and about how many total have you seen?
Well, the number is getting close to 10. Yeah.
Okay.
And you called this an outbreak. When is the last time we've had an E. coli outbreak here?
In my career here, this is the largest outbreak we've had, and I've been here quite a while.
How long have you been here?
Just to that's just a terrible...
I'm so sorry. Just to get I guess just to get like a time span of
30 years. I've been here 30
okay.
years, yeah. We usually see an outbreak in the warmer months. Just, you know, you're outside, you have more risk of exposure to animals, animal manure, or you're cooking out. Vegetables are coming in. The leafy vegetables, you really have to wash them carefully, and so it's just kind of when this tends to happen. So we'll see sporadic cases, maybe 2 or 3 at a time, but this is way more than I've ever experienced before here.
Hi. Can you point out what your best advice is for parents, what they need to do, what they need to avoid to keep from...
So we are concerned that some of these cases do have exposure to the consumption of raw milk. Tennessee is a state where it's legal to obtain raw milk. There's most states it's legal, but the FDA and the American Academy of Pediatrics strongly discourage consumption of raw milk or milk products because there's a lot of things that can be in milk, and there's no really good way to decontaminate it other than pasteurizing it. So I think it's really important to emphasize what the FDA and the American Academy of Pediatrics says, that consumption of raw milk is just not a good idea. There's just no way to be sure that that's safe, and it can contain this E. coli bacteria. But beyond the raw milk issues, we mentioned washing your vegetables and good hand washing, and you know, cooking meat, especially hamburger. There really shouldn't be any pink in hamburger because that is a meat that can be contaminated, and you may have heard of outbreaks of this with attached to hamburger restaurants.
The kids here, how are they doing?
Well, there have been some that have been here and have already bounced back and have gone home. As I mentioned, there are several in the ICU right now that are still in serious condition and needing a good bit of help.
Is there anything we missed that you wanted to add?
Well, we talked about prevention. As far as, I think one thing to say is parents may be really concerned about this, that what should I do if my child is sick? And I think I mentioned the signs of things to worry about. In addition to just diarrhea, you know, what would you be worried about, like blood in the stool, or the child not acting right, or puffiness, or really being pale. The treatment is, there isn't anything that we do that cures this. The body just fights this off. The bacteria goes away. Antibiotics actually are a bad idea. May make things worse by the bacteria dying and releasing more toxins. So it's all really supportive care. So I think if parents are just alert to watch their children closely, who prevent things you can prevent, and if they happen to get an illness with diarrhea because of what's going on in the community, just watch for additional signs that you would need to manage with the help of their healthcare provider.
I have a parent on Facebook asking right now if there's a chance that you could contract E. coli like in the splash pads or public pools this summer.
Well, treated water that's chlorinated we think has minimal risk, but lake and pond water definitely can be a source. And if any water drains from where cattle are, there's the risk of that bacteria getting there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Was I on live Facebook?
Yeah, you still are.
Oh. Didn't know.
You did great. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you all. It's important. It's important stuff for people to know, I think, right now. So, all right, I'll just undo.
We'll pass them around for you. We'll figure out what to do.
He's gonna get it
I didn't know I was live, because sometimes I'll kind of go off script.
You sounded great the whole
Yeah, that
time.
was
Yeah.